record in 3, 2, 1. So welcome everybody to this mentoring session. We are talking to Gina Pedraza. She is a native English speaker and a certified teacher, and she recorded with us the English for Beginners course, and she will also record a course about pre-intermediate pronunciation. So welcome, Gina, and we're starting with the questions. We had a question from Gabriel, and now we are moving on to another question. So I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. And so the second person that I had on the list was Paula Garzon. Paula, could you make your question, please?
Of course. Can you listen to me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening. Well, first of all, thank you because of this lesson. And my question is, how can I improve my listening? Because it's too difficult to me to understand, especially native people. And with the accent, it's so difficult to me try to understand. So could you recommend me something to improve that part? Because I've been watching series and movies, but I not consider that I have improved a lot. Thank
Okay, so hi, Pao. I think that it's very important to be aware, to be conscious of what you're saying. So you're trying to improve listening, but it's an exercise that requires of self-listening too. So when you listen to a TV show, a series, you're not repeating what you're hearing. You're just listening and you're saying, okay, maybe I understand some words here and there. That's why I have noticed that in many of the English Platzi courses, one of the exercises is to record yourself. And it's a very good exercise because maybe you understand what the speaker is saying, but you're not really seeing the differences between some words, or you think that maybe one word is difficult when in reality it's not difficult. So I think that you can work with two things, two for the price of one, is the listening and the pronunciation. If you listen and you try to repeat, and you vocalize and you try to feel where is the accent, because in English we don't have the accent, the tiles, you don't have that, but you still have one syllable where you have the intonation. So it's also good to identify that. And I think one of the best things that you can do is record yourself or repeat. Listen and repeat. I know a lot of teachers say this, listen and repeat, but it's very important. When you listen to yourself, you start to identify, oh, no, wait, I was thinking something completely different. So I think that that's one tip that I can give you. Also, a lot of students have told me that they love listening to podcasts. That depends on the difficulty level, yes? Because maybe you want to improve your listening skills, but you choose a podcast that is too complicated, and maybe that can be frustrating. So choose something that is in your level, take it step by step. I saw somebody write in the chat something amazing. They said, it's not a marathon, it's a marathon, not a race. And I love that expression. It's not about how fast you get to the end. No, it's taking it slow, step by step, and reaching or getting to the result that you want. So that's one thing you can do, podcast. Some students like to try with apps like Lyrics Training, where you listen to songs, and maybe you can work with that too. Now, the thing about the accents that you mentioned, I recommend working with American accents. Well, because I'm American, but also because it's much easier to understand than British or Australian accent. Not because the British and Australian accents are not good. No, they're good. The thing is that here we have more contact with American, let's say, material. Movies, Netflix, podcasts, YouTube tutorials. You have a lot of content that is already closer, let's say, to to Colombia or to South America, Mexico, to where you are. So I would recommend maybe working first with the American accents, American audios, and then if you want an extra challenge, go to the British, let's say, the British material that you can find. So that's maybe one of my major tips. Of course, practice, 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 but also repeat and listen to yourself.
Okay, thank you so much.
No, I hope it helped.
Thanks for the question, Paula, and Gina for the answer. And I see Rowan's first on my list. Rowan, do you have a question?
Good evening to everyone. Yes, my question is how I can prepare myself to present the IELTS or the TOEFL exam and get a good score, because I want to study a master's degree in an English-speaking university. I work on wildlife conservation, and I work right now for an international foundation, and normally in my job I speak in English, even with my partners and my boss, but now I want to study a master's degree. What is the best way to prepare myself for the IELTS and the TOEFL?
Okay, so this is a good one. Now the IELTS is, well, let's say the IELTS. First, you need to remember that you don't study for the IELTS. You don't study. There's not a topic that you say, okay, I'm going to study about, I don't know, I'm going to read about elephants, and then there's going to be an article about elephants in the IELTS. You don't study. You prepare. How do you prepare? Two things. First, get used to the questions, because the IELTS has very different questions and a very different dynamic than the TOEFL. So first decide which one you want to take, which one the university that you're applying to is asking for, because sometimes they give you the option, other times they say the IELTS or the Cambridge or the TOEFL. First, decide on that. And second, try to prepare by practicing and finding the strategies that work best to answer each type of question. So for example, the IELTS has a question that is true, false, or not given. And for many students, when they arrive to the test, even native speakers, when they arrive to the test, they have never seen this type of question and they say, oh, wait, what? They get confused. So that's the first thing. Study, practice, rehearse, maybe. Try to do mini tests or exercises with the dynamics, with the types of questions that you're going to see on the test. This is going to give you a huge advantage, because when you arrive, okay, the reading is going to be different, but the question is not going to be new because you already practiced and you did it and you know what is the best way to answer it. There are a lot of courses for IELTS preparation, but you can also find great free materials. So I'm going to give you a page. I don't know where to, okay, I'm going to write it in the chat. It's called IELTS Exam. IELTS Exam Net, I think is the link. And they have excellent material for free, audios, articles, even the speaking questions that you might get. So that's the first thing I would do. Research a lot and practice the IELTS questions. The second thing, to pass the test, you need to have a good level. So do everything that you can to improve all of the different skills. Now, usually writing is the most difficult part to pass, okay? Why? Because if you take a course, maybe it's a conversational course, so you speak a lot. Listening, there's a lot of material that you can use to strengthen or improve your listening skills. But writing, there's not really a lot of opportunities where you can write and there's somebody there to evaluate and to check and to give you constant feedback. Now, what do you think? I want to ask Rowan the question. What do you think you can do to improve your writing without a teacher? No teacher to check and correct. How could you improve your writing?
I put write posts about science, because I am a scientist, in English about my topic, and publish maybe on Medium or my LinkedIn, or creating my own blog, and maybe asking for a friend in America to examine my transcript and say me what is good and what is bad and how can I improve. That's my idea, maybe, that you are really, really right about that. Writing is very important.
That's something that can help you. Now, you actually gave me an excellent answer. That's something that you personally can do. And everybody can find different ways of improving their writing. Maybe you don't want to start a blog. Okay, you have friends in the US, start texting them in English all the time. Even if they speak in Spanish, text in English. Now, are you familiar with Stephen King? Do you know who he is? You don't know Stephen King? Yes, I see somebody saying yes over there. Do you know the movie It? The horror movie?
Yeah.
The clown, the crazy
Yeah.
clown? He's the writer. He's the author of these horror novels. And one of his tips, because he's a very successful writer, he says, if you want to be a good writer, you have to be a great reader. So that's another clue for you, another tip, Rowans. If you want to improve your writing for the IELTS, start reading a lot. Reading is going to help you almost unconsciously, naturally, start to identify structures. Yes, punctuation, coherence between ideas. Read articles about topics that you enjoy. Read the news. I personally love BBC News. Yes, it's international. You find articles about different topics, but you can also read about sports, technology, whatever you want. So it's not an advice from me. It's an advice from Stephen King.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great advice and really good question. We are going to also record preparation courses for these types of exams. They will be coming up in our English school around September or October. We're going to have them ready. And thanks for your question. I see next on the list, Alberto Bueno.
Hi, Carolina. Hi, Gina.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this meeting. It's very, very important. I'm interested in speaking. Maybe in this weekend, in this weekend I motivated to speak. Really recommend to Platzi to read Ultra Learning. It's a very, very good book because they're talking about the method to practice and important sentences that I read there is that you need, if you want to speak, you need to speak. So it's very, very important this. A question you answered before, but when in another person, but I take a note of the book Ultra Learning. In the book say that I ask about another person which is the method that you use to learn this language. This is my question.
Okay. I thought you were going to explain.
Yeah. But in the book say this, that you ask can I ask to other person how learn a languages, and yeah. In this week I really motivated, and yesterday I talking with another person 1 hour. I crazy, like, oh, I can really talking during an hour. So it's I like it. But in this moment, pues I am motivated to talk with you.
Excellent. So I think this is a question for everybody here today. Maybe we can restructure it a little and ask, what have been your strategies for learning the language? Because I see that you all have good, different levels, but good levels. So
Yeah.
I think, because for me, well, I was a baby and I don't remember how I learned English in kindergarten. But for you guys, that's an excellent tip. I don't know who would like to help us out, Alberto and us. How did you learn? What have been the strategies that have worked better for you? Maybe strategies that you didn't find useful, that could help us out. Who would like to go?
Maybe
Gabriel.
really. I I am reading this book. I
Yes.
am reading this book. It's difficult. Really, it's difficult. Only I have only on the middle. I read the middle book, but it's interesting because it's really important because you are always pending of a word, a vocabulary, a sentences. But I am glad with your recommendation about the E.T., the Stephen King. I like it. I read this book. I will read this book.
We'll read it. E.T. is
Uh,
a different,
yeah, but
different.
I can see the movie. I can see the movie, but I don't read the book. So I promise read the book.
Okay, but remember that uh, I don't know if you are scared, if you're nervous, is not my responsibility. No, I have seen the movie. I haven't read the book, so I don't know. It's you want. I didn't force you to use this material. And
Thank you.
I think that Gabriel wanted to answer your question about the strategies that he has used. I saw he wrote in the chat that he could help. So go ahead, Gabriel.
Okay, right. Hi, Alberto. I got a method that worked for me. When I am at home, when I am doing anything, whatever I do, I just talk about what I'm doing in the right moment. I just talk about anything. I don't know, maybe I am ordering my room and I taking something and I put it in that place, or taking something to move anything, or maybe when I'm cooking, when I'm I don't know, doing exercises or reading something, I just talk about what I'm doing in the right moment. And maybe I can say things that I don't know how to call it, and that is the words that I wrote, and then I look for or search for the meaning of the word that I can say, because I don't know how they call it. But when I try to say something, or maybe I can imagine that I talking about something that I like to, I don't know, about basketball. I love basketball. So I talk about into someone that is that do not exist. It's not, there's not anything there. But I talk into that person, imaginary person, about something that I liked. So maybe there are words that I don't know how to say or how to call it, but that words I wrote in a paper, and next I go to the computer and I search that words, and my vocabulary increase, and the things that I want to say, the really way, or the really things that I used to say or I used to use to say something. I want to express myself, and I don't know how to do that, because I don't know so many terms that I should to use. But maybe if I just write the words that I don't know how to say or how to express myself, I study day by day with that method, and that worked for me a lot. And I am alone here in my house because I live alone, but it works for me so much. So maybe that can help you. That's it.
Great tip. People are congratulating you in the chat. That's a useful method.
And if you see, in a way, Gabriel is listening to himself. He's
Yeah,
talking.
yeah. I
So,
I correct myself, my own self, because I know that there are words that I say so bad. I know, maybe when I remember I try to say at all, when anything at all, I say it so bad because I said at all, like all.
like an oath.
I have to turn my mouth to say all, como all. It's so crazy. But just practicing and hearing myself and correct myself, any word that you have to say, you can know that you don't say the word that you have to, or you need to say in the correct way, because you can hear yourself. You know that you're not talking like a gringo. You're just talking like a Latino that talk like a robot. We talk like a robot, but that the way is just to turn your mouth in a way that the word sounds different, and that's practice, just practicing. So that's my method, and that works for me.
Now that you say that, it's funny. It's funny because okay, two things. You don't realize it initially, and I think the courses in pronunciation you will see how to notice this difference. But English is nasal. Yes, is a nasal language. So
Yeah.
it's funny, but your voice changes when you're talking in Spanish and when you're talking in English. It changes. I don't know, Caro, if you have had that comment, like, oh, you sound different.
I,
Yeah.
I do. I
Yeah.
do.
So when my students hear me talking in Spanish, they're like, no, no.
Kind of meme. I hear that like a meme about your voice changes just for the
But it's
language.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. So that's one thing. It's nasal. So it's good that you hear those differences. Like, oh, I'm talking very Latin. No, more gringo, like you say. Okay, so it's that little difference. And the second thing, oh my God, I forgot. Wait, what was the second thing that you said that was important?
About I talk about we talk like a robots, or maybe
Excellent.
okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, yes. Maybe it's because you're nervous, or maybe it's because you guys feel like, I know, if I say this, I'm going to exaggerate. Don't worry, exaggerate. So there is an expression. I'm going to write it in the chat. It says, and I always say it to my students, I said, fake it until you make it.
Yeah.
Okay? What does that mean? It means that even if in the beginning is not natural, like you say at all, like you have to train yourself, in the beginning it's not going to be natural, but you're gonna fake it. You're gonna continue until you make it, until it's normal. Now I can say it, and it's okay.
Can
So
I add something?
yeah,
So important. I know this is so important. You maybe had troubles with talk with someone because you are maybe you're afraid to be wrong with someone, but if you are afraid to be wrong with yourself, maybe you got a problem. I got that problem. I really do. I think I was not talking in the correct way, and I feel shame about myself, and that's what's horrible. But if you feel shame about yourself when you're alone, maybe when some person is worse, you have to resolve the fear about yourself to talk with anybody but yourself. You're just alone talking, lonely, and nobody are gonna say anything about the way that you're talking about, or anything you say. And you have to practice your nervous with yourself first, and then you have to practice your trainment. It's a trainment. You're doing the trainment with yourself. When you talk with the people, you got the trainment to be secure about your talking the correct way, because you train by yourself first. And that is an ad that that's worked me so well. I think now today I can speak in English just because I defeat my own shame by myself. It's just yourself. When you are secure by yourself, you can talk with anybody. That's work for me. Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Great. Thanks, Gabriel. We have more questions, so let's go with the next person on the list. I see George on the list. Okay, George, you can make your question. Are you there, George? Okay, we're going to go on to Christian. Christian, you can unmute yourself. He said in the chat that he had a question, but he doesn't have a camera. It's okay if you don't have a camera, but you can ask your question.
No? Okay.
He left. Okay, so Ivan.
He's connecting to the audio, so maybe in a little moment he'll.
All right, so let's go for now with Ivan. Hi,
Hi,
Ivan.
everyone.
Hello.
So my question is, how can I improve my conjugation from the moment I start talking? I don't know, make the sentences have some sense, or as you say, some coherence. And I don't know, many people think that when you start speaking in English, you need to think in English first, and that's my trouble in there. I sometimes think in English for some phrases or sentences, and sometimes I don't. So what's I don't know, a method so I can improve that part?
That's a very good question, and I always think it's funny, this idea of thinking English. What does that mean?
Yeah.
When the teacher says that to you, like, teacher, what do you want me to do? I think it's funny, and we talked about it also in another session that we had, and I think what you're trying to say, and usually what the issue is that you're trying to figure out the structure, the order, the syntaxes by translating. And that's when you get confused. So you say, okay, but in Spanish, it's first, I don't know, it's first the subject and the verb, and then in English, you're overcomplicating the situation. The structures many times will not work if you try to do that as well. So I think it's not about thinking in English, is more about trusting what you already know. Gabriel touched a very important point. It's confidence as well. When you doubt, when you hesitate, you start making mistakes about things that you might already know, that you already understand, but because you don't want to make a mistake, or there's more people there and you feel embarrassed, or maybe you don't want to make a mistake in front of a crowd, then you start hesitating and doubting, and that makes you kind of get things scrambled or get the structure wrong. Now, when it comes to grammar, if that gives you the confidence, then, well, go for it. That's great. It's not the method that I use generally, but if you feel that that is going to help you boost your confidence, then go ahead and try to study more on that side. But the best thing that you can do is try to include in your practice a little bit of everything. And this sounds funny, but yeah, maybe try to make sure that you're not focusing on just one type of input, that you're not receiving just one type of material. Challenge yourself as well. If you feel comfortable with the past and the present and the future, then okay, go to the next level. Constantly challenge yourself to improve the structures that you already have in your mind, because trust me, there's a lot more that you have not learned yet. So push yourself always to the next level. Practice, take risks, ask questions. If they're wrong, okay, then go ahead, try again. And this is always something that I repeat. You have to be aware, because some things become bad habits. It's not that you don't know, but because maybe you learned it incorrectly in the beginning, it's difficult to reprogram your brain. So sometimes you say things, I don't want to say it, but this is a common one in all my students, beginners, intermediates, advanced. Sometimes they say, people is. The people is angry. People are. Ah, yes, teacher, people are. And then tomorrow, yeah, the people is. People are. And they know. I know my students understand why, but it's a bad habit. So when you make those mistakes, be aware. And maybe take a moment and say, wait, I know this is wrong. This isn't the structure. Ah, okay. I'm going to, people are. Try to internalize it maybe, yes, to be aware, so that in the future you feel confident that you already know the structure, you already know how to conjugate, you already know how to put the ideas together. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Gina, and thanks, Ivan, for your question.
Thank you.
And there are some questions that are similar. So about podcasts recommended, I recommend the Platzi podcast called Speak English. We have a new episode each Friday, and there you can practice your English. And another question that you guys had in common was which book or app you recommend to practice English? Which book or app, Gina, would you recommend?
That's another one that I always get, and I guess it depends on preferences. I know a lot of people like to use Duolingo. I personally have not used it, so I can't say that I recommend it, but I do know that it can help you with vocabulary, just building vocabulary. So in that case, if that's something that you need, you can try it. There's another app that is also free. It's actually, I think it's a Google app. It's called English Central. I think I recommended that too last time. I like this one because the material is not academic. They show you a lot of videos, but they're not videos made for students. They're videos from TV commercials, from TV shows in Canada, from advertisements. So they're, let's say, like they're real material that people in the US would watch on TV. Is not made specifically for students. So I feel that that gives you a real approach to the language. It's not too academic. No, it's real. So I like that one, English Central. Somebody's writing if they can watch baby cartoons. Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? Baby cartoons, baby songs, baby poems. I think somebody in the chat asked about easy reading material. Read stories for kids. And I promise they're not going to be so easy. They have their complexity too. So anything that helps you. If you like music, there's a lot of apps that you can learn. So I guess that, yeah, I'm sorry I can't give you a list of apps, but I think that depends on really what is your goal. I like English Central, to be honest. That's the one that I have used the most. And I like it because there's an exercise where you have to record yourself and you get to compare. You listen to what you said and you listen to the speaker and you say, ooh, okay. So I like that one.
Great. Now I see on the list Orlando Ramirez. Orlando, would you like to make your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. My question is, it is worthy to do an TOEFL exam or an IELTS, or it's better to focus on learning the language and then getting experience in the language?
So Orlando, I think that depends on your specific goals. As one of your colleagues a moment ago asked, Rowans, I think it was Rowans, he wants to take the IELTS, but because he knows he needs the IELTS in order to study abroad in a different country, yes, for a master's degree or a postgraduate. So in that case, it's something that Rowans needs to do. If you don't have the need to take the test, then I would recommend, no, don't focus about the test, because that adds a little bit of stress, yes, to your process. Oh, I need to take the test in 1 month. No. Focus on building your vocabulary, on improving whatever you feel in your personal opinion that you need to work on. But if you do need to take the IELTS, follow the tips that I already gave Rowan a little while ago. Is first, get used to the questions, review what type of questions each of the section has, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. They all have different sections. Get used to the dynamics, so when you're there, it's not going to surprise you. You already know. And the other thing is that if you want to take the TOEFL or the IELTS just for the level, because some students do this. They don't need it, but they want to take it so that they know where they are. They know where their level is. Then the same thing, practice before with the types of questions, because maybe you have a good level. But if you don't know, you're not familiar with the types of problems or questions, then you're not going to get a real assessment of your level. Yes? And I know it sounds funny, but even native speakers have failed these types of tests, the IELTS, because they don't prepare. So if you don't believe me, Google it. Like English teacher loses the IELTS, and you're going to see maybe somebody, not me, but maybe some teachers that this has happened because they don't prepare for that test. Each test is different, so you have to prepare for that. So that's my advice, Orlando. If you don't need it, then no, don't worry. Don't stress about it, because all tests are a little stressful, so don't worry.
Thanks for the question, Orlando. And now we're going with Alex Reyes. Alex, you can unmute yourself. Alex, we can't hear you.
Are you there?
No, we can't hear you. So I'm going to pass on to the next. Alex?
Oh, there's Alex, yes.
Hi. Can you speak? We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. You're on mute. Try. Can you try to speak? No, you're on mute again. We're gonna have to go with the next person because we have just a few minutes and we have a lot of questions. So we're going with Carmen Sanchez. Carmen, you can ask your question.
Hello.
Hi, Carmen. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm nervous. It's my first participation in this meeting, in all meetings. I'm beginner, and I understand only some ideas. Okay, my question is about grammar. Grammar is important. And what is the better way for learn grammar and think in English? Thank you.
Hi, Carmen. First, you have a very, very cute son. Your son is in the back saying hi, and I'm saying hi. So first of all. Second, the grammar. I think that for a long time, learning a language has been done this way with the grammar rules. When you guys are in school, and it's a very tedious or a very maybe even stressful process sometimes, because it's a lot of things to memorize. Yes. Now I remember when I arrived to Colombia, I had to take some Spanish classes because right now my Spanish is perfect. You are not going to hear me, but it's good. But in the beginning, when I arrived, I was making some funny mistakes, and my writing was terrible because writing in Spanish was difficult for me. And I remember my Spanish classes with all the grammar. Oh, I know, it was so horrible and mortifying for me. Yes, I said the accent and the this and the blah. I don't remember anything about the Spanish, but right now I'm good. So I would say to you, Carmen, you have a good level. Actually, to be a beginner, you talk very properly, good pronunciation. I would say to not worry so much about the grammar. If it helps you, again, if it helps you because it gives you confidence in what you're going to say, perfect. But don't stay just with the grammatic rules, because that is going to make your process slower. Because when you want to speak, when you want to have a conversation, you're going to think, no, but is present continuous, is past, so it's going to make it so you're going to start to question yourself. I know, but so it has to be natural. It has to be natural. So use the grammar as a tool, but not as the only or the main source of your learning. Okay? Yes. And the other thing was, oh yeah, think in English. Don't worry. If you think in English or in Japanese, don't worry about that. Just worry about how it sounds natural to you. Natural to you. And don't translate. Don't translate. This is why I don't like many apps. That's why sometimes I don't recommend, because I know that a lot of apps translate. So they say the word in Spanish and then the word in English. And that makes it makes the student think that they always have to translate. One suggestion that I give you is to learn very visually. So you don't need the word in Spanish. No, you need a picture of a car. And you know that's the car. So you have the word in English and the picture. Oh, that's a car. Don't think about it. Oh, car in Spanish is, no. So try to not translate so much, if that makes sense. if you can try to do it, don't translate. Okay? Yes. And again,
Thank you.
that is very cute.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
My
Carmen.
pleasure, Carmen.
And we have, let's see, after Carmen, I see Eric. Eric had written his question in the Q&A, but he'll make it live. Eric, can you unmute yourself? Eric? Okay, so I'll make his question. He asked how to know the level that he has in English on his resume, and most important, interviews ask for it. Okay, the level for when you are going to apply for a new job is usually a B1 or B2, and you can know your level through tests. There are different tests online, and in a course that we are going to launch the first week of July, we will have a test for you to know which level you are on. Okay, so that's one. I don't know if you want to add something else, Gina.
Oh, just a little thing that's important. Make sure that if you take a test or if you maybe have been evaluated by a teacher, make sure that is recent. Because many times when I have met students for the first time, we do an initial evaluation. And they say, no, yeah, Gina, I'm a B1. I took a test 1 year ago and I'm a B1 high. And they start very good. And then I see a lot of mistakes or a lot of things that are missing in the structure. And I say, you know what? I think you're not a B1, maybe in the past, yes, but right now there's some things. When was the last time you practiced? And they say, oh no, well, for the past, I don't know, the last 6 months, I have not studied English. Okay, so you were a B1 last year when you were disciplined and studying and taking your course, but now if you don't practice, of course, the level is going to go down. So make sure that when you take your test or when you have this job interview that the results from that evaluation are very recent. It's not from 1 year ago, from 5 years ago, no. And make sure that you have continued with your process, with your learning process, because you take the test today and you're a B2 and you say, okay, my English journey is over. I'm a B2, I don't need to practice. No, it has to be constant. So again, it's like exercising, it's like working out. If you stop doing it, then all those nice muscles are going to disappear.
I like those examples. So we have Sandra Milena. She has been waiting over here, but she's there. Hi, Sandra.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
I have a question. In this week, I had a challenge. It's a topic very interesting, but it's difficult to me. I would like a tip. How do I practice the minimal pairs in English?
Oh, so yes, I think I saw that question in the Q&A part in the section. So this is a good one and is very related to listening. Let me give an example for the students that don't know what is a minimal pair. Um, okay, there's a lot. I'm gonna write it in the chat, and you are going to pronounce it, and then you're gonna see that in reality is difficult. So one word is, how do you pronounce that?
Chip.
Potato chips. And then if you have a word like
Chip. I don't know.
in a way they sound so similar that you would say which one is which. Another one. A lot of CHs, right?
Chip and chip.
Oh, actually, yes, very good. Cheap, but they sound identical, to be honest, Sandra. So the thing with these minimal pairs, and that you're going to see a lot, is in this case, you need to include in your practice listening while reading, okay? Because otherwise it's going to sound like I said cheap, but you don't know if it's the animal or if it's the price cheaper. So in this case, I think it would be a good idea to try to, oh, and you can do this with English Central. So that's why I always recommend this one. The other ones, I don't know, but this one I recommend because in this app, you listen, you watch, and you read at the same time. Another thing that you can do at home, when you're watching Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, all these great streaming services, you can go ahead and put the subtitles in English as well. So you are receiving from both sides. Some students asked about reading. If they have an intermediate or low level, can they read in English? That's complicated, guys, because you might be teaching yourself incorrectly. If you don't have a grade level and you're reading in English, you're going to want to pronounce the way the word is written. And English is a fabulous language. I love it, but it's not easy to read sometimes because the words are not pronounced how they are written. So I would recommend for these type of things, Sandra, for the minimal pairs, put together your practice, listen and read at the same time. And I think there's apps that let you do that. For example, if you find an article, you can, I don't know, you can share it with the app and the app gives you like a voice that will start reading like a Siri robot voice. But you can try with that. With your TV shows that you watch, put the subtitles as well. And with this platform that I recommend, and with music as well, the lyrics while you listen. This is the only way, because to be honest, they sound almost identical. Yes, in most cases, there's not going to be a difference. You're going to say, what? So yeah, that's like the suggestion. Try to pair the two, listening and reading.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, for your question. And we're going to have the last questions now. We have Massimo. Massimo, can you speak?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Well, my question was how improve your listening, but when you speak with a native speaker, but was asked before. So how you can pass the intermediate level to upper intermediate level to have a fluid conversation with native speakers and other speakers. Because I think the harder thing is past that intermediate level. I don't know, some consejos. How can I say consejos?
Some tips.
Tips.
Some tips. Well, what you're doing right now is very important, I think, is putting yourself in the position or in a place where you have to speak with native speakers and with colleagues or classmates. So the first thing is take the risk. Again, don't be afraid. I think that fear is a funny thing. We all feel fear at some moment. And learning a language requires a lot of psychology from your part. That's why I enjoyed Gabriel's answer in the beginning. I thought it was so funny because it's true. A lot of the things that you feel that don't let you advance, or don't let you go over that intermediate level that you say, like maybe you feel stuck. You feel that you don't advance, is in the same level for a long time. It could be a lot of your own psychological, let's say, issues regarding English. Like, oh no, I sound funny, or no, I talk very slow. It's the things that you say to yourself as well. Massimo, another important thing is to work on your fluency. So if you want to feel more comfortable having and maintaining a conversation with another speaker, is working on fluency, how to practice structures that you already know, that you feel comfortable with, but in a way that it's a little more fluent. And another thing that you can do, I had the idea, I'm forgetting my ideas right now. The fluency, oh, another thing that you can do if you want to be an active speaker, and this is very important for everybody, guys. In the traditional education, let's say in the language institutes where you are 30 students and one teacher, is very difficult to learn how to interact, because the teacher asks questions and you answer. How are you? Fine, thank you. And you memorizing how to answer and answer and answer. If you want to be an active speaker, Massimo, and you want to have a conversation, you need to practice asking questions. If you don't know how to ask questions, you're a passive speaker. You're only waiting for somebody to ask you, and you say yes, no, maybe. So that's something that could be very important for you to feel like you are passing to the next level, and that you feel more confident to have a conversation. Ask questions, practice question structures. Do you have, do you like, do you go? Yes. What do you do? Where do you work? These type of questions are going to help you first have better conversations, longer conversations, more challenging conversations too.
Well, that is a great tip. I didn't think talk about that before. Thank you.
The pleasure.
Great. Thanks for your question. We have 2 more questions. And if you have additional questions, you can also reach us on Twitter and send your questions there, or in the courses, but I think it would be easier on Twitter, and then there we can reply. So the next person on the list is Sergio.
Hello, are you hear me?
Hello, yes, how are you?
Okay, I have a question. I try learn English all the time. I learn, I write, I hear, but when I try speak with other people, I don't find the correct word to speak a long conversation. I just speak with a short conversation, and anytime I lost a conversation. Why? I don't understand.
I don't understand either. What happened? Sergio, maybe it's vocabulary. You need more vocabulary, but you need to really learn the vocabulary. This sounds stupid, but yes, why do I say this? It's because maybe you are reading a lot, writing a lot, but you're not internalizing some new vocabulary. So it's important, and I think it was also something that one of the students said. When you learn something new, write it down. Use it in a sentence. Talk to yourself, yes, using that new word that you learned. Because if I say, okay, everybody, today you learned the word, I don't know, toy. Okay, you learned the word, okay, and we never use it again, you're going to forget it. It's not going to be part of your conversation. It's not going to be part of your dictionary, your internal dictionary. So try to really work on the new vocabulary that you start seeing or reading, or that you hear a friend using, or that you learn in a Platzi course on YouTube, whatever. When you see a new word, try to really internalize it. Yeah, that new word is going to be part of your dictionary. The next time that you're having a conversation, then you're going to have access to more phrases, more expressions, more vocabulary to use. Because maybe this is why your conversations are short, because you don't know what else to say. You don't find the right word for that. So vocabulary. And second, the questions. If you don't know how to ask questions, the conversation is going to be short. Yes, because you don't know how to continue, how to keep the other person, the other speaker, interested and talking as well. So 2 things, vocabulary and asking questions. Practice those 2 things.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Sergio. And the last question is from Camilo. Camilo, you can unmute yourself to speak.
I think Camilo wrote that he doesn't have a question, but that his camera is active, I think, on the chat, I think.
Okay. So no? All right. Done. So I think we're ready for today. We passed for 7 minutes. So thanks, Gina, and thank you everyone for asking your questions. And what's next? We have on July 1st a discussion club in which we will talk about goals. And then we're going to have an English meetup on the 3rd week. We have an activity almost every week. So the first week, discussion club. The 3rd week, meetup. And the 4th week, an expert session or mentoring session, as we are now calling them. And so thank you for joining, and we'll be in touch. Have a good night. Thanks, Gina. Would you like to say anything to say goodbye to the students, or good night?
I would like to say that I saw you gave each other really good tips on the chat. So before you leave, check the chat, because I see that you're giving each other really nice tips and strategies that have worked for you. So that's great. Help each other out. And the last thing, no, I really enjoyed being here with you guys, helping you, I hope, as much as I could. It was a pleasure. Please, don't be scared. Never stop learning. It sounds funny. I know you always say that in Platzi, but it's so true for a language. It's so true for a language. So guys, it was really nice, and I'm sure that you will continue to improve and check out my course if you're a beginner, and hope to see you soon. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.